Hello. All right, so this is it. This is the rest of the movies for now. We finally made it through all of them. The ones from the past four parts are back there, and I've got a couple of little stacks here. So I think we can get through these all right now. And once we do that, we'll be caught up. I could have, I love those YouTube videos where somebody will spend like five, hours, 10 hours going through all their Blu Rays and stuff, and talking about each of them, and they're surrounded by piles of Blu Rays at the end of it and stuff. I love watching those, but I didn't think making like an 8 hour video was a wise move for a growing channel like mine, who hopes to someday get beyond even 40 subscribers. So maybe we'll save the 8 hour videos for later. But yeah, let's just dig into these. Starting with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, an incredible movie, one of my favorite Spielberg films, and I think one of his most personal movies, because it's one of the few films that he wrote, and it's a nice little addition here. This comes with all three cuts. So that would be the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and then there was like a special cut in the 80s where I think it was kind of just largely about improving the effects and having the ending be everything Spielberg wanted it to be at the back then, before he had the technology. You know, but yeah, incredible film if you haven't seen it. Beautiful score by John Williams, which isn't a surprise. I don't think I even need to say that John Williams did a good score. Can he do a bad score? I don't know. Speaking of John Williams, yeah, The Last Jedi, um, a divisive movie from what I understand. I really love it. I will admit that when I saw this in theaters, there were a couple things about it that gave me pause. But the farther away I get from it, the more I appreciate it. Because I mean, say what you will, about some of the creative choices here. I think most of them work. There are a couple that are a little shaky, but Ryan Johnson, this following The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens is just like a straight up crowd pleaser. It's like playing the hits. And Ryan Johnson tried to do something different with the franchise, tried to make a very unique Star Wars film, unlike one that anybody else had ever made before. And I think he succeeded much more than he failed. And I think it's one of the more compelling movies in the franchise. Talented Mr. Ripley. This is a fascinating and very creepy movie. Great performance by Matt Damon. I love it when Matt Damon plays bad guys. He doesn't do it that often, but he always does it so well. Like I love that little part he has in Interstellar, and of course the great one is The Departed, where he's just like the most repulsive person imaginable. And he nails that shit. And in this it's a really uncomfortable viewing experience that he helps create, because he's our point of view character, but he's a horrible person. He's a monster, you know, and yet you kind of, you do empathize with why he is the way he is. And, it's just, it's a very uncomfortable kind of push and pull as a viewer. And, yeah, if you haven't seen this one, wonderful, wonderful movie. Um, RoboCop, Steelbook, gotta have it. Got a Shaun of the Dead Steelbook too. That's nice. Funny movie. Sicario. This was, I think, the second Denis Villeneuve movie I saw after Prisoners, which was an incredible movie. And this was the one that kind of convinced me that he was one of the best directors around. Because, anybody can make one great movie. Well, not anybody, but a lot of people can make one great movie. But when I saw this and was blown away by it from like a craft perspective, from a thematic perspective, from the performances he was able to get from the actors, especially Benicio del Toro, I was just like, no, this guy's incredible. He made two films on this level. He's going to make more, and he has made more. It's been like hit after hit, and this is a really powerful movie. This was, and I have Hell or High Water here too. Yeah, these were both written by Taylor Sheridan. And this movie, especially Hell or High Water, has just an incredible script. Uh, and I thought that for a while there, uh, you know, every movie the guy wrote, it would be like an instant watch. I would be like, this guy's like the best writer in Hollywood right now. And then he kind of, he went on to his television era and made like 5,000 Yellowstone shows and stuff. And he kind of lost me, but I'm sure those shows are good. I just, I miss, I miss the Taylor Sheridan I used to know, I suppose. Um, but yeah, this is a great movie about a person who comes up against a problem where she wants to be the hero, wants to be the solution, but she realizes that the problem is just too big. It's too big to even begin to deal with, and she's just powerless. You know, at the end of the day, and that's it's a tough message, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Um, and Hell or High Water is a great heist thriller with an amazing performance by Ben Foster. Great performance by Jeff Bridges too, and yeah, just an amazing script. Tons of great one-liners that Jeff Bridges gets to do with his partner. Uh, War for the Planet of the Apes. I don't know if I'm higher on this movie than a lot of people because it got very good reviews, but I think this movie is like a masterpiece. And like I don't throw that word around a lot. I was so incredibly blown away by this movie when I saw it in theaters. And it just confirmed to me, that Matt Reeves, is brilliant, and he went on to do the Batman lately and just completely crushed that. But this movie, it's just such a triumph on all levels, I think. It's a lot of it, at this point in the story, the apes couldn't really, they could talk a little bit, but, it's mostly, through grunts and stuff. Like, they could speak very little English, a couple words here and there. But what this means is that large stretches of this film, it's like a kind of a de facto silent film in a lot of ways. And it just relies on Michael Giacchino's beautiful music and this great atmosphere that Matt Reeves cultivates. And there are a couple human characters in it, but just a couple. And the main one is the Colonel, who's played by Woody Harrelson, who's a fascinating villain who, once again, much like, Tom Ripley, like he's a monster, but you understand and empathize with why he is the way he is to a degree. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched this because you think it's like some dumb movie about talking apes, it's far more artful and daring than I was ever expecting it to be. And I wasn't even huge into Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I thought they were good, solid movies, but this was such a massive leap forward. Check it out. So this, Where the Wild Things Are. This was directed by Spike Jonze, one of my favorite directors, and written by Dave Eggers, who is my favorite writer, my favorite novelist. And this is probably, out of, he's only made 4 movies. He's made Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Where the Wild Things Are, and Her. And this film kind of gets, the short end of the stick because Being John Malkovich, incredible movie. Adaptation, amazing. One of my favorite movies. I don't even think I own that one yet, but I need to soon. And then Her, I thought was the best film of 2013, which was an incredible year for movies. Like, look it up. Like, so much great stuff came out in 2013. It was remarkable. So this is probably the least impressive film in Spike Jonze's catalog, but only because something has to be. This is still a great movie, a really interesting and unique movie with a wonderful script by Dave Eggers and a great score by Kieran O from the AAS and Carter Burwell, one of my favorite film composers. Did a lot of Coen Brothers movies. That's mostly what he's known for. But oh, and I know. I mean, if you think it's a kids movie because it's based on a kids book, it's really not. Like, kids can watch it and enjoy it, but it's very much, it's not a film that panders on any level. Trick or Treat. This is a nice kind of Halloween anthology film by Michael Dougherty, who went on to, I think, do what did he do? I think he did like the second Godzilla of the new American Godzilla movies that aren't that good. But this movie is super fun, and this little guy Sam has become kind of iconic with his little mask and his little half-eaten lollipop and everything. Yeah, it's just a fun movie. It's nice to watch in October when things are getting spooky. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is Michael McDonough, one of my favorite writer directors. Did In Bruges, which is one of my absolute favorite movies. Do I not own In Bruges? If I don't own In Bruges, I'm going to buy it tonight. But what else? He recently did Banshees of Inisherin. He did Seven Psychopaths, which I thought was a really underrated, fun movie. And this was probably his biggest critical success at the time. Got nominated for a shit ton of Oscars, and both Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell won for this, and they're both wonderful in it. But I don't know, the script. The script is what really blows me away about this movie more than anything else. It's like what when Martin McDonough, he's a playwright mostly, and he writes wonderful plays. But when he writes a script, it's like, it's not just like a blueprint for a movie. It's like a legitimate literary work that like should be read and studied and appreciated on that level. Like he puts just as much thought and complexity into writing his scripts as he does into writing theater, for example. And he always gets great performances out of his actors. He always writes brilliant dialogue. It's a great movie. All right. So we got a bunch of criterions over here. Let's get the non-criterion ones out of the way first and end strong. Oh no, except I know which one I'm going to end on. All right. So we got Black Klansman, recent film by Spike Lee. I'm a big Spike Lee fan. I thought this was his most entertaining, probably his best movie in quite some time. This is a really fun movie that tackles, very important, very heavy issues, and it's, it gets its point across and says what needs to be said while still remaining like a great, thriller or great black comedy. There's a breakout performance for John David Washington there, who's excellent in it, and Adam Driver also great. Also, Topher Grace playing David Duke in this, leader of the Ku Klux Klan. Like he's great. He makes that guy look just as ridiculous as he should. So if you're a fan of Spike Lee or good, dark comedy thriller type movies, it's a good one. We got another Steelbook. We got The Big Lebowski. This is also quite possibly one of my top 10 favorite movies, or close to that. Coen Brothers movie. One of the greatest scripts ever written. Incredible performance by Jeff Bridges. And, I mean, everybody's great in that movie. John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Everybody's wonderful in it. And it's just one of the most quotable movies of all time. And John Turturro as Jesus, maybe the best role ever to have like such limited screen time. Like he's probably in the movie for like 2 minutes. I don't know, and he makes such a huge impression on you. It's amazing. All right, I'm dropping things on the floor. All right. We got some criterions. Let's go through some of these. We got Parasite with this super cool cover. I was so excited when this movie won Best Picture at the Oscars. I never thought it would happen. I mean, I've been a fan of Bong Joon-ho for a long time, ever since I saw a movie called Memories of Murder. And actually, I have that here, too. And I was very relieved when they put this out on Criterion, because for a long time, this wasn't on Blu-ray at all. I had it on DVD, but even the DVD copy was, like getting really expensive on eBay and stuff. So I'm glad that the success of Parasite made this movie, more readily available, more widely seen, because this is just, it's one of my favorite movies ever made. It's a true crime thing. It's a cop thriller, but it also has moments that are very operatic, and it has this beautiful lead performance by Song Kang Ho, where he's not a very heroic person at the beginning of the movie. He's kind of a complete jerk and a mess, and it's kind of about him, finding the ability to be a good cop and give a shit, and so you're not going to like him at first, but give it time, and he turns out to be a really lovable character, I think, by the end of it. But yeah, probably like a top 20 movie for me. And then Parasite, I might not rate quite as highly, but close. I mean, Parasite is an absolutely exceptional movie, and watching this in the theater for the first time was a remarkable experience. Not knowing anything that was going to happen, it was really shocking. And I saw that movie on vacation in Austin at an Alamo Draft House. Was drinking an alcoholic milkshake and eating mac and cheese out of a skillet in a comfy chair. Best way to watch a movie ever. Highly recommended. We got True Stories. This is the only film to ever be directed by David Byrne, uh, written and directed, and starring. He's in it too, in a very early John Goodman role. This movie is hilarious. It's really funny and really strange. And whether you're a Talking Heads fan or not, it's worth seeing just because you're not going to get this experience anywhere else. We got two movies that Martin Scorsese amazingly released in the same year. We've got his Bob Dylan documentary, Rolling Thunder Review, and we've got The Irishman. So we'll do Rolling Thunder Review first. So this was probably the greatest era for Dylan's, live concert performances. The band he had with him on this tour, the Rolling Thunder Review tour, was absolutely incredible. And this was the tour for an album called Desire, which is my favorite Bob Dylan album. And so I was so happy that they chose this tour to go on in depth with. It's incredible music. And Scorsese did this cool thing where he mixes in fictional elements into the documentary, but he doesn't tell you when he's doing it, which I think is very appropriate for a Bob Dylan documentary, because there's so much myth built around him, that a lot of the times you don't know what's real and what's just kind of a story or a tall tale. So I thought he incorporated that element of his legacy in a really cool way. And then The Irishman is a remarkable movie. I remember the first time I watched it in chunks, because it was really long. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good, but it doesn't really come together into anything. And then I watched it from beginning to end, and it was completely different. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't add up to anything, and I got the point of it, I think, which is just basically that, this guy spends his whole life trying to please these people, killing who they want him to kill, blowing up what they want him to blow up, and is all these acts of violence against people whose names come and go. You can't keep them in your head, and all these events just drift by. And then at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, because this is about Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa got killed, and Jimmy Hoffa was really this guy's only friend. And so now at the end of this road, it's just like, what are you left with when you betray your friends, when you alienate your family, when you do everything to please these people who aren't even good people, who don't necessarily even have your best interests at heart? Like, what are you left with? you know you're just alone, and you fall in your hallway, and nobody can help you up. you know it's a crazy movie, and it needed that excess. It needed all of this like numbing repetition, so that the last half hour of the movie could just like punch you right in the face. It's impressive, I think. Um, all right, we got Uncut Gems, nice and shiny. Um, this was a movie by the Safdie brothers, who did Good Time before this, which was the first movie I saw by them. I loved Good Time, incredible movie. I don't own that yet for some reason, but Uncut Gems is even better. Um, Academy Award worthy performance by Adam Sandler. At this point, he's never going to get nominated for an Oscar. If he didn't for this, and he didn't for Punch Drunk Love, and he didn't for the Meyerowitz stories, and he didn't even for Funny People, which I think, was a performance worthy of that kind of attention. I don't know if it's ever going to happen for him, and it's sad because he's an amazing actor. And the biggest crime that he pays, that he's made, is that he's done. It's very hot in this room, and English is eluding me. But the only thing he's done wrong is not giving a shit. That he could be chasing clout, and he could be chasing these roles where he can really show off. But he'd rather make goofy comedies with his friends and elevate all of his friends and share his success with them. And, then if somebody comes along and asks him to do a really good part, like, he'll do it. But he's just as content, you know, making some dumb, funny movie with, like, Rob Schneider and Kevin James. And a lot of people put him down about that. And I just think that's really admirable. That he just has no ego about it and just wants to hang out with his friends and make goofy ass movies. Because when he's hired to deliver a performance like this, he's like insanely good. He's like one of the best actors around. And this movie, it's just such a stressful, overwhelming movie, but it's totally worth it. It's an amazing film if you haven't seen it. And then Punch Drunk Love. This is another one of my all-time favorites. Probably another top 10 movie for me. And this was the first time I saw, Adam Sandler. This was the first performance. I guess, in The Wedding Singer, he kind of experimented with going like deeper and more emotional with a character. But this was the first time he really dove in. And I think it it can be at least largely attributed to Paul Thomas Anderson seeing something in him and seeing this character he always played, who was kind of stunted in terms of his, emotional growth and maturity, and was just kind of like, okay, well, what if that guy wasn't in a goofy comedy? What if he existed in the real world and had to deal with real world problems? You know, and this movie, it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's a great romance, it's full of wonderful performances. It's just it's a near perfect film in my opinion. And if you've ever, you know, put down Sandler and just, said, yeah, that guy can't act, that guy's not smart, that guy makes dumb bullshit, watch this, and see how you feel then. And we are going to end it with one of my most prized possessions. We have a Blu-ray disc here of The Room, and it is signed by Tommy Wiseau. It just says, XO, Max, Love, Tommy Wiseau, and then the date there, which I believe is 05/31/22. Yeah, and this terrible Blu-ray cover where like his face is all like stretched out and stuff. I love this. I love this. And I haven't even met Tommy yet. That is a personal ambition of mine. But, I just ordered this from his website. And I didn't even ask for him to sign it. And he's done that multiple times. Like I ordered a script from him recently. You can buy the script for The Room on his website. And he not only autographed the script for me, he sent me like a little kind of headshot with his signature on it too. And this guy is awesome. He could charge more for that, but he doesn't. He just throws it in for free. He's a cool guy. He cares about his fans. But if you haven't seen The Room, I'm not going to try to describe it. It's indescribable. Just see it. Tommy Wiseau is my personal hero. I have right now in my pocket. You probably can't see because it's very worn, but this is a Tommy Wiseau wallet. It says Tommy Wiseau right there under the eagle. I probably need to buy another one because this has been through the washing machine a couple times accidentally. But yeah, if you look right there, you can see it more clearly. There's Tommy. And yeah, I mean, apart from this being a funny movie, unintentionally, probably, almost definitely, I do find Tommy's story really inspirational. You know, he's a guy who I look up to in a lot of ways. And I think his story, if you're a creative person who's trying to get your stuff out there, it's worth considering his story. Reading The Disaster Artist, that Greg Sestero wrote with Tom Bissell, journalist, and really digging into, you know, this guy's mentality and how he got this multi-million-dollar movie made through, the force of his own will, you know. And don't see. I mean, you can watch the movie, but don't stop there, because the movie removed. It was a fine movie, but it removed a lot of the complexity from the Disaster Artist book, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it countless times. I actually need to buy another copy because I read it so many times that it fell apart. But anyway, that's all my movies right now that I can find. Anyway, there are probably more somewhere, and if I find them, I'll let you know. But from now on, now that we're up to date, I'm just gonna make new updates when I buy more movies. When I buy enough that I think it merits a video, I'll show you and I'll record a video. So until then, we're going to get to non Blu-ray topics now. The YouTube analytics thing said that people are looking for booktube stuff. They're looking for like book related videos. That like the search results that contain those kinds of people. Those kind of people. I don't know how their analytics work, but they said I should make a video about books. So maybe next time I'll make another video about books. Because y'all love books. I'm just kidding. Books are nice. All right. Well, it's warm. Goodbye. It's the first ever edit in the history of my channel. I forgot my They Live Steelbook. Look at this Steelbook. It's gorgeous. From Shout Factory. Come to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of gum. Okay, bye. Hello again. I also forgot about this really cool edition of Stop Making Sense I just got. This is my favorite concert documentary of all time, Talking Heads concert documentary directed by Jonathan Demme. This is the recent re-release by A24. Comes in this lovely. There's the DVD there. And it comes with this book. Lots of photos. Okay, bye. It's nah, just kidding.